sooner you're honest with yourself, the quicker you can start living the life you want, and the quicker you can start seeing the changes that can impact you in a very positive way. So honesty with yourself, it's where I would suggest to start.
Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox.
Hello everyone, today we're saying hi from Vilnius, and I have with me lovely Kotryna.
Hello. Hello.
Hello Kotryna. So for the ones who don't know, Kotryna is, I don't know, can I call you already serial entrepreneur or multi-entrepreneur? How would
Moving
you
into that.
move into that?
Yeah.
But basically she is a woman who I met in Denmark. We both shared some great time in Copenhagen, and I met her as a founder back then, creator of LinkedIn. Back then it was just an agency focused on LinkedIn, and a two people, very ambitious girl, going for big goals and being super bold. And I was like, wow, she is really brave. And no matter what, you were just breaking the barriers in Denmark, where it's pretty difficult as a foreigner to get yourself into the market.
Yeah.
And right now, building her second venture, just finished acceleration program at Plug and Play. And I don't know, and in general, super wonderful human being who besides tech also got into art. I guess we will get there.
Yeah, we can get there
and have different hobbies. So
yeah.
I guess that's just multifaceted person. Kotryna is here at Perception Paradox. I'm super happy that we are live with the planes flying in Vilnius in a very beautiful summer day.
Thanks for having me here. It's so nice to be here and do this live, because most of the podcast recordings happen online. So I really appreciate that we can talk eye to eye, face to face.
Me too. One of my missions for Perception Paradox is actually to transit it into destination podcast, where I can come and visit entrepreneurs in Europe and actually be in their place. So I'm happy that you invited me to your Plug and Play office here.
Yeah, very first one.
Yeah, that's great. I was thinking what would be the right way to start this conversation, if there is any right way. And I guess for me, what's interesting, the way we connected was through Denmark. We met each other through entrepreneurial scene. I was working with TechBBQ back then, if I recall it right.
Yeah.
We started hanging out. We were both in our master side hustle business. We came to do masters, that master became a side hustle. So, and then at some point I'm moving back to Lithuania. And I was like, really? Now?
I remember you said that.
Yeah, I was like, why? So how long you've been back now? 2 years? 3 years?
Actually, 3 years.
No.
Yeah, crazy time flies. So 3 years being back, I think it's still a good decision. Still not regretting it. Though I'm thinking about, maybe spending some time somewhere else for a little while. A country called USA.
A small country called USA. Easy entry, no barriers.
If you know it. But I actually like it here in Vilnius. It's growing a lot. There's lots of opportunities. And I think for people who want to do something, it's kind of like a growing economy. So it's fun to be a part of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. How was your transition? We had some conversations, I remember.
Yeah.
Because you spent 8 years abroad.
Yeah,
right?
8 years.
Quite a long time.
I would say it wasn't as bad because I used to come to Lithuania anyway for a month or two, because when we started LinkedIn, my co-founder was in Lithuania, and lots of clients were there too. So I would come still and do some workshops or something else, which is why I believe it wasn't as harsh. But then, always coming back to your family, it's a different story. When I finally got my place and everything settled down, then I think I found my routine. And it was great. So a couple of months and you're there.
Well, let's see. I'm staying for a couple of months.
You'll get there if you want to. That's the question.
Absolutely. How is the business culture in comparison to the Nordics?
I would say that maybe if you look at the very traditional sectors like logistics, let's say, I don't know, construction and others, it could be still challenging because the perception is still a bit different, maybe a little bit old school, as I would call it. But then if you look at all the unicorns, all the tech companies, especially the ones that grew vastly during the last few years, I would say the culture there is like very much the same as in the Nordics, and sometimes even surprisingly even better than where I used to work in some places. So yeah, I think we are there. Just depends on where you are. Like if you work at a startup, SaaS startup, they're all aspiring and looking at the Nordics, looking at the US, and trying to cultivate the same culture.
Yeah, and it seems like the Nordics and the Baltics are really right now merging in a way. A lot of funds coming and exchanging the knowledge. Now we have Plug and Play, where you just participated with your new startup.
Massive name in the world, right? Coming to Lithuania, and like in other Baltic countries, we don't have Plug and Play, so it's like their first office in the Baltics, and I'm so proud. And yeah, it's just amazing.
How was your experience? Or maybe let's start from the beginning now, since we touched base on the startup scene and Plug and Play. So why did you decide to join Plug and Play?
For a couple of months last year, especially at the end of last year, since last summer, I was talking with my co-founder on some ideas when it comes to AI, because the space is growing fast and there's lots of new technologies that could be used to create something which were not there before. So, and him being into AI space, he could see that too. So we started talking about like, hey, where could we see some new potential ideas? And then we started with one idea last year, which was like in the health tech, which was AI pharmacist. And we had some different struggles there, fair share of interviews and lots of other things, and decided to kind of be done with that idea because it was not really feasible for the moment. And then we kind of turned into a new but yeah, like LinkedIn has been running quite smoothly on the wood. And knock on the wood.
We are surrounded by wood, so I think we are good.
Yeah, so it's been running quite smoothly, and I would say, it's been 5 years now, and we have lots of clients that are trusting us for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. That's working wonderful. With us and not quitting. Knock on the wood. And that means a lot. So it means like the team is very sustainable and can be there by themselves in most of the cases. And I thought, okay, so I have a little bit of extra time, and what could I do? And then all of those ideas kind of came into place. Then also at the same time, in the beginning of this year, Plug and Play came into Lithuania. They're collecting a new batch. We are applying, and out of 200 applications or so, I think 12 were selected.
And you were one of them.
Yes.
How did your idea evolve since the beginning of the program?
Yeah, so in the beginning, we wanted to do like AI co-workers for financial companies, insurance, and legal. And we quickly understood, again, after countless of interviews, that, well, all of these industries, they're very different from each other, So we can't be building just for all of these three at the same time. So we wanted to niche down. And then because of my experience and my co-founder's experience finishing finance and me working with some banks before, we thought, okay, let's do finance because we have the most knowledge like about this industry. And that's where we're right now. So we're building AI co-workers for financial institutions, mainly like focusing on automating lending right now. Sounds very boring maybe for some people. Like you can sleep from these, words. But yeah, it's not the most sexy industry, I would say. It has a lot of constraints. It has a lot of compliance things like fintech, it's not easy. But at the same time, we can see there's so much to do. So that's how we got into Plug and Play.
Wow, okay. That's great. And how was the program for you? Since you already spent a lot of time in the startup scene, you worked with so many founders you're a mentor yourself at Startup Wise, guys. How was it being yourself in the founder shoes and being part of the program? Did you learn something new?
It was different for sure. But I would say like the most valuable thing for me was connections. And the network, especially when it comes to Plug and Play, I believe if you're a B2B startup, it's like the most effective accelerator for you because they have lots of corporate partners. Whereas if you're B2C and you look for like singular customers, they might not be the best place to start because they don't have like connections there. So for us and for me personally, like the workshops were good, but I have participated prior to that in a lot of different accelerators. So there was not a lot of new things, but talking part with the, people from the workshop or from mentors, corporate partners, all of those people, they are really good and they can help you accelerate like your business.
Yeah, that is so great. Well, it seems like that. We came now just to this accelerator all over space. I met some founders. And then from all the information you shared online, it seemed really, really valuable and strong program and strong network. I think that's what's important when you're looking for some kind of accelerator or investors network.
Yeah, lots of opportunities. And like once you're in it, you can continue going into other programs that Plug and Play has because they're so big and they're all around the world. So you can go to, I don't know, like the US, you can go to Asia, to some program there, and you can continue like learning and relocating yourself if you need to. And yeah.
So what does it take to build a startup for a founder? Can you highlight few characteristics for someone who is considering to build a startup? What does it take to build a startup?
Maybe like a couple of months, I would have said something different. Right now, like after finishing the accelerator and just hustling for the last 3-4 months, and by hustling, I don't mean just like having fun or something, but just really like sending emails, staying up late, and like trying to accelerate the business. I would say it's resilience. That's the word. It's always the freaking resilience because I mean, I actually made a Notion page which is called Fails and Wins.
Yeah.
And basically in the Notion page, I'm just counting how many times I got rejections and how many times, I got like which day I write which time, like everything. And I want to like reflect on it. And I reflected already, like it's a lot of fails and always a couple of wins. So you have to stay resilient and just go through it because that's and self-motivation. I believe that's like.
So how long is the list right now?
How what?
How long is the list of the rejections?
It's getting there.
It's quite funny. That's quite funny what you're saying because I also had these experiments, but quite many years back, more with the new projects in new countries. So I moved to several countries multiple times, and that would be usually without any network. It was just during this university after university, and I literally have, I think, one list of my time of trying to get into Austrian market, from startups to companies to bar applications, and I was really tracking just how many emails did I send. And then another one was from Denmark. When I moved to Denmark, my contract of potential job opportunity fell apart, and I was like, well, what do I do now? So I need to figure out a new way because I canceled freelancing projects. And I also was making the list because in Denmark it's especially hard to get a job kind of you like. And I'm like, what's wrong? Is it wrong something with me? No, you just have to try.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like later on you look at it and you're just like, wow, I went through all of that myself. I did that to myself. But I'm here and hey, we have some great wins. So I think like you have to just you believe in your idea and stay resilient and kind of when those hard moments just say to yourself like tomorrow is a new day, I'll wake up.
Some positive self-talk. You're preparing already for the US market.
Yeah, exactly. Like all that optimism that you have. Sometimes you think like, oh, it's not needed. Like, why am I so positive or optimistic about things? But especially in those dark situations, that's basically what gets you out of them.
But what if someone doesn't have optimism?
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Then you gotta find an optimistic co-founder.
That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
So then to look through that lens. All right. Yeah. So what did you enjoy so far the most of building AQ22? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's AQ22. We've heard a lot of different ways, but actually, yeah, it's AQ22 just so it rhymes a little bit. And yeah, it's AQ like instead of IQ, it's artificial intelligence. And the 22, it depends who asks. I always say, like, if it's an investor, it's 22 millions. Maybe if it's if it's like a technical guy, we say we want to build 22 co-workers. So it depends.
Cool. Yeah, so it has a story, actually, and the story aligns. I love it.
Yeah. So
what do you enjoy the most about that right now?
Yeah. I would say I enjoyed the most like just starting from a blank page. So having all the opportunities in front of you and choosing one path and kind of exploring that path. And if it doesn't work, trying something new. So like A/B testing on a global scale, on A/B, I don't know, many times in emails or like in some kind of cold calls or in meetings, or how do you pitch yourself, like countless of times when you're doing that. So I think that's what I enjoy. Just failing quickly, testing, and the most fun moments is, of course, when you do something and you succeed and you get
Yeah.
that client or you get that lead or something else. So yeah.
So I want to go back a bit to your previous years now with the career. We covered now the latest chapter, which is very exciting. I'm
We
really
start with now.
I was very, yeah, I don't know why. Now is now. We are present. Well, there are some obviously moments in life that brought you where you are right now. And one of the things I recall when meeting you, the confidence. You were confident no matter what. Like, I don't know. I just felt this confidence, right? And later on, when we got to know each other, of course, we shared our fears, we shared our successes and everything. Where did you get your confidence?
I would say my mom would always tell me like some of the most like encouraging things, because I believe she really wanted me to go out there and like push me into going to Denmark, even though she kind of maybe inside didn't want to, because obviously nobody wants like your child to go somewhere else. But would always say something totally different, maybe what she's thinking, but motivate. And I think that's kind of what helped me to boost myself up, even maybe there was not a need for it, but it was helpful. So I think it doesn't necessarily come naturally, but some of it maybe, but some of it comes from like positive experiences, and then from the support that you have maybe with one person in your life. And that was my mom always to me. So
oh, that's so great. And then you started with her kind of business with art, and she will being in her senior career in the banking industry.
Yeah, in the banking
right?
industry.
Because I had an interview with her when she was doing some testing for one of the features or something, and she started got back to her artist career with technology, and you kind of jumped in to help her to brand it, to organize the fairs.
Why?
Or
how?
Yes, why, how? I see you as a very inspiring person who starts and jumps into very different industries and is very quickly observing the environment, and is a fast learner. So just maybe you can give some background story. How did you manage to squeeze it in while running the agency, thinking cover projects?
You know what? I always think to myself that if I have some spare time, I want to be learning about something. I don't know how and why, again, I have this trait, but I want to be like learning. Of course, there's some resting too, but still. And art, I call like everything I do with my mom and her art things, I call it like a resting, like hobby, because it's not something that has any kind of things from my work. There's no LinkedIn, there's no like sales call. Well, sometimes there, but still, it's a totally different space. And I kind of got this excitement, especially in the beginning, because like I mentioned, I like building things and like building projects. So in the beginning, I was walking into this art space, and my mom would take me always, like when I was young, through all the exhibitions and would explain to me like a lot of things. But of course, lots of it I forgot because I was a child. So now I'm coming into this art space, and everybody is like so, uptight and like with noses like very high in the air. And I'm just like, okay, how will I do this? Because like these people are not so approachable, because
it's not the startup scene where you just, hey, what's up?
No, it's not like, hey, let's network or something like that, So it's another kind of a challenge for myself personally. And I'm just like, okay, I accept this challenge. Let's try. So I come up with some tactics or with some ideas, and I test it on the art market, So that was kind of what I liked. And I went to like this, for example, art exhibition opening, and I had a goal to meet like these couple of people. I checked their LinkedIn's, I know where they're from. I did all the background search like I would do with a prospect. And I approached them during the exhibition. They were really like surprised, like, oh, how do you know my name? And like other things. But at the end of the day, that's what kind of got like some of the people to come later on to another expo that we were organizing. So I kind of applied my day-to-day work tactics to a totally new industry, and it also worked, and it was fun to kind of experiment.
Cool.
And
and you had a good bonding with your mom.
It
looked so nice. I was sad that I could not attend any exhibition.
Oh, don't worry, we have one in August.
Oh, great. So then I guess I'm coming. That's great. That's brilliant. When you were starting LinkedIn, have you imagined to achieve and be where you are right now? To achieve so much, I would say. They're having this stable, growing business, such a great team, actually. Met some of them, and they're all so kind, and
They're amazing.
it seems that they're really matching the values with yours.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we also are hanging out. But
yeah, it's amazing to see where we are right now, and the team means everything. You could take away, me probably will still be there. But if you would take away like these team members, because their values match so greatly, like I think it would be a different vibe, you know? So I think the team matters a lot. But did I imagine? I would say I was never like imagining, like I know some people have like a specific amount of money in their bank account or something else. I think I always imagined like freedom. I imagined maybe like I will be, maybe after a couple of years, I would like to go around Europe. This one I remember really clearly because I said to myself, I would like to go around Europe and I would like to speak and do like public engagement thing, coach and have a team and small team and things like that. And then one day, you know, I'm sitting in the plane. It's my 50th flight last year, you know, and I'm just like thinking, oh my God, like a couple of years ago, I wanted this and now I'm here.
And
so
you're on the way to San Francisco to run workshops at TechCrunch event.
So it hit me, but like I said, it wasn't like an amount of money or something, but it was this feeling of freedom and wanting to do the things I want to do.
Do you think that you're doing that right now still?
Yeah. I think nobody is forcing me to do art or like help my mom or to do a startup or to do something else. Like I'm choosing this, and I can always close some of the projects if I don't want to. So I think that's kind of a freedom.
What brings you inspiration? Because you kind of on a day-to-day, it seems right now you're quite busy with work, right? Running two companies, it's quite already a challenge and it requires a lot of time. How do you rest and where do you get your inspiration to not get into the loop of same ideas and same actions?
I rest in the morning when I make breakfast, for example. I rest in the evening when I make dinner. You know, it's kind of like these rituals of using your hands and like doing something totally different, putting on a favorite song. Like that's what really allows me to kind of rest. And on the weekends as well, I have one day where I don't work, you know, no question marks. So I go to visit my grandparents, go to the countryside or something like that. So I don't show maybe that too much. So sometimes I tell people I do rest as well. So don't worry. But yeah, I think I listen to lots of music. I'm just trying to sometimes, for example, when I commute, I'm trying to look up into the sky, you know, just enjoy the moment. I don't know if you have some similar moments, but yeah.
I know what you mean. But at some point when I was really overwhelmed with information, and especially including podcasts, because I just when I get into something, I just go all in. And I remember like what I discovered, that it's so nice just to walk or cycle without anything in your ears, without any distractions, and just to observe. So I'm doing similar things, like just some slow, silent mornings, some breath, some kind of a bit of meditation, some reading.
Yeah.
Routines has changed completely since since we were hanging out in Copenhagen, and that would be you wake up at 6 and then you hustle. And some things were like you learn a lot, I guess, from trying different things and trying to be everywhere at the same time, trying to do everything at the same time in the best, highest quality you can. Where sometimes maybe you choose your battles.
And those little moments, you know, that's where you rest, because I believe, okay, maybe sometimes it looks like I work 10 or 12 hours a day, but I wake up later. I go for a walk during lunch break. I, you know, take some time, like just between those hours, you know, it's not like straight sitting down and working. And everything comes down to planning. At the end of the day, how many businesses you can run or like how many projects you can do. It all comes down to how your calendar is looking like.
How did you learn to plan your calendar so wisely?
I had to learn it because I think it was starting to get overwhelming to just focus continuously on like 1,000 of different things. So learning early how to schedule things, how to adjust. And now for meetings, I plan meetings for like a month, 2 months in advance. And if somebody's not okay with that, well, maybe it's not meant for us to meet, you know? So, yeah.
How do you think, how does your social life look like besides work?
It's good. I actually host dinners. So now, for example, I hosted like 3 dinners in a new apartment where I moved to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's nice. For example, I take something that I will do anyways, like cooking dinner. And then I try to involve like, okay, meeting with some friends, like hosting them on the weekends, going to do some sports together. Yeah, going to a birthday party or something else. So I still do that.
You still do that. So it's kind of helpful. When you're building business, how much do you say you have to sacrifice of fun, or I don't know? So, there are those sayings that if you're gonna try to build a startup, you have to sacrifice something because there is no half-foot game.
Yeah.
To go really 110% in.
I would say like some of the relationships I definitely already sacrificed in the last 2 years, and I'm okay with that because they were not like strong or they were not giving me positive energy. So I decided, okay, so anyway, it's bothering me already, like this friendship. So I will just not gonna put any more effort into it because it's draining me. And decided to focus more on like people who give me energy and I give it to them, and it's like more balanced, but definitely sacrificing some relationships because people get mad or whatever, because they get insulted, like you don't have time to meet or something like that, sacrificing somewhat time with your family, of course, because you maybe are not available every single day to meet up with them. And yeah, I think like there's always something you sacrifice, and for most it's your time, you're using your time on building something that you're not, well, hopefully it will work out, but it's never 100%. So until you're happy about it, go for it. But if you start being not happy that you're losing something, then maybe you should think twice.
What's your relationship with failure? When did you befriend? I assume that you befriended failure in a way, because you keep trying things, but usually the beginning and the start of it is really scary, especially coming from Eastern Europe where you're not allowed to fail.
Yeah, I would say I didn't see it as failure in the beginning when you're trying and you're just trying kind of, you're not failing because you haven't done it yet.
Yes.
So like you're just trying. There are certain situations where I'm still not fully percent like mastering it. For example, if there's something really important and you're putting a lot of effort into it and you're hoping and everything is gonna be great, all the signs are showing it's gonna be great, and then it kind of goes down the drain. There were a couple of situations with the startup here as well during the last couple of months. So of course you feel like shit, sorry. and basically, I started shaking, and I was like really that day, like I was not feeling well because, you definitely feel bad. But those are like a couple of bigger moments, where really like didn't expect it. But in any other situations, like, okay, somebody says no or something else, I'm fine with it. I think it's just with, practice. It kind of
practice.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle, I think. And also the approach. I also have never seen it as a failure of things that did not work out. For me, it was just like, well, I tried. I don't know.
Somebody said no, but somebody will say yes.
Yeah, eventually. How did you learn to network so great? You're now when I see you in the events, we both saw each other growing in the scene, and I remember the beginning of us, like I don't know, we both had the shyness a bit, and okay, we're gonna go approach this. But now when I see you're just flying like a butterfly and really finding a great way to approach for someone who would like to improve their networking skills or get into that or understand the concept, what would be your knowledge sharing for that?
I have a couple of colleagues and friends who are also quite shy, and I would even say introverted people. And what we're agreeing with them, because they work with me, and I tell them like, okay, so you're going into this event, you need to have a goal. Your goal is, for example, to talk with 5 random people. And then even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's like really not your kind of, but they have to try because, they have some kind of quota to reach. So yeah, there's me, so of course they're accountable to me, but you can always be accountable to yourself, and you can come up with a goal, maybe 2 people, maybe start small. And the best advice is always, at least from my side, when you don't know what to talk about what's happening. So if you're in an event, you can say, hey, do you like this event? Have you seen the speech just finished like an hour ago? What do you think of the food? Do you like the coffee here? It's like super simple way to kind of bond without knowing where that person is.
I really love in the networking events where people come for people, not for the tagline and not for the title. I understand the strategic networking as well, but I feel like in startups it's a bit different.
Everybody can be a CEO.
Everybody can be a CEO. It's also true. No, it's how you want to call it.
Yeah.
Cool. How do you get? I see you as also someone who is good at spotting opportunities and trends. So, for example, when you started LinkedIn, LinkedIn, it
It's
was just
tricky
the
to begin.
beginning, right? Yeah, but it's great. It's an incredible sale. So,
Yeah, exactly.
and I remember those times, so little people, and still a lot of people to this day in all their industries, we don't use the platform, but it's the only platform that continues growing so exponentially.
Yeah.
All the other metrics stopped, and if we look into on the Meta and so on, LinkedIn
Yeah.
just is so stable. How do you think you managed to spot that opportunity?
I would say it was only because I worked at an international Danish company, and only because I was assigned to also work with LinkedIn, and I didn't know much about it, so I had to like start reading up. And they were working a lot with the US market, so in the US it was already booming, and then I thought, okay, this is interesting, and there's not a lot of people yet. So I think it was like a very natural way of me like getting into the platform, but all the stars had to align for me to know about it, because on my own, like I was not discovering it, it was because of work.
How long did it take you to build such a big following?
Well, most of the following came during the first 5 years, I would say 4 years. Now I have around 30,000 followers, and some people would say, oh, so how many are connections, because it's not the same. So actually around K is just purely following. So
Oh, that's great.
so it's a big amount, and I think I used the opportunity to build it like early up. Now it's definitely more difficult, but if you find your space and you stick with it and like continue posting about the topic, you will be recognized eventually by LinkedIn, by the LinkedIn content managers.
How do they recognize it? Do they recognize by the algorithm some kind of engagement, or they measure all this how much you interact and how much people interact with your post and how consistent you are?
All of it.
All of it,
All
right?
of it. Yeah, like how active your profile is, how much you're posting, where are you located. Like location matters a lot because some locations have more eyes on than others. And for example, there are not so many recognized content creators in the Baltics as if you would look at the US or like any other market. So
Interesting.
So yeah, location also matters, and you can be a recognized creator in Germany, for example.
How would people now can distinguish themselves on LinkedIn? Because it's so much content, right? Everyone is just a lot of also ChatGPT, dear network. I have a story to tell where you clearly see it's not, there is no value. So I just don't follow. And then also a lot of copycats. I saw some scandals, not only with your post. I had the same situation you had, that someone literally translated directly your post. I had someone writing almost word by word one of my posts that got a lot of attentions about my reflections on travel, whatever. And then I think later on it got the tag inspired by later on I got the tag, but it was so fun. I was like, wow, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's really up to you, like trying different formats and trying to see what works for you. Because I do see a lot of people in different spaces, and still everybody think like, oh, it's too late for me to come in. It's actually not. You can still brand yourself, and LinkedIn is always suggesting like fresh people, like fresh ideas, new perspectives to follow. But you gotta experiment with content type and find, for example, videos maybe work well, or, document posts or like statistic posts, and like find what works, and then kind of like put like more effort into that content type. So yeah. And I think like there's always new functions, LinkedIn lives, LinkedIn audio events. So there's still plenty of ways how you can differentiate yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so it's still a good way, a good platform, social platform to build your presence and more credibility.
Oh, definitely. It helps so much. It doesn't matter what you need. Like you need a new job opportunity in the future, you need an investor on board, you need a co-founder, you need anything. Like LinkedIn is a place where you can brand yourself, and that will help you get what you need. Yeah.
Cool. Are you using that for your new startup?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Very much, very much, especially when it comes to finding board members, like board or mentors finding potential helpers when it comes to demo video making or whatever,
Interesting. So you touched a very cool topic I wanted to discuss with you. It's membership.
Membership.
I think that plane distracted me.
Membership is not open yet for our AI
Not
coworkers.
yet? All right. So I'll wait for that. But mentorship, actually, when maybe was one of the first times you got yourself a mentor? And do you have one right now when it comes to your business group? But I'm talking more about the personal mentor, not only about the startup.
I would say that probably there were lots of different mentors whom I never labeled as mentors, early on in university, let's say. But really real mentor with a label, mentor
With credentials, official.
credentials officially approved, was from the LT Big Brother program. I participated in it for 3 years and I had 3 different mentors. And the first one was Greta Patrasciute from Denmark, from Copenhagen, and she was my first mentor. And then a couple of others during the next years. And so I always used to have at least one person or a couple of people I can talk to.
So did you see the value of having mentorship in your life? Or what
yeah.
kind of value did you see? For someone who is considering, or someone who maybe feels stuck in the process of building something and creating?
It gives a lot of value if you know what kind of advice you need, basically. That's the thing. If you come with a general question, I wouldn't say mentor from a general industry, let's say from finance industry, but you're coming in with a question about biochemistry, it might not be very valuable. So when you know what kind of help or in which area you might have questions, that's the time when you can find a mentor, and then they can definitely answer and give you more clarity. And I always said a mentor is someone who can look at you and your situation without any kind of bias and just give you a very simple advice as they see it without knowing you as a person, So yeah, it has so much potential, and I am a mentor myself. I have a mentee, and I'm mentoring him every month. So yeah, I'm happy to be now also on the other side of the program.
That's pretty cool. I see that mentorship is super valuable, especially if you want to move also faster, and instead of being in the circles and looping with the same all processes.
Yeah.
Just having someone to take you, break the cycle and show you a bit different guidance and different paths you can take as well, or different growth opportunities.
Yeah.
I have a bit of jumping thoughts, but one of them, when did you learn not to fall in love with your idea, but fall in love with the problem while building the startups and ideas? It's so easy. And at the beginning, I think we all do fall in love with our idea. And especially after you've been mentoring so many founders, I've done my cup of tea as well of mentorship. And it's always one of the biggest problems is we tend to fall in love with the idea, and we think that that's the best idea and that's the best problem to solve, even though it's just your own idea that does not reflect the market.
Yeah, I think I learned that very early on, because when I moved to Denmark, I started another, the first business with the gift box and decorations with my mom and 2 Danish girls. And, the business failed, and I was left in a room with 100 boxes and just, sleeping in there, seeing boxes everywhere. And gladly, during the next 5-6 years, I gifted all of them to my, of course, my friends were happy, but they also had to get the same gift every year. But yeah, it was kind of okay, so yeah, I had an idea that people will like this. The location was bad. The partners were not bad, but not the right fit, maybe. Also, I didn't have any network. I didn't know the language. I was in a countryside where there were no customers around of that kind of a box, let's say. At least not a big majority, So, and all of that kind of taught me okay, so you liked it, it was beautiful, and now you're left with a minus in your bank account and 100 boxes in your room. So
perfect. And
that was
the rooms are not that big.
No, so under the bed, somewhere else, So yeah, I think that was the
learning. That maybe see who is around first. Maybe a farmer don't need the fancy
exactly.
gift box.
That's what I learned. I was in a fair, and I remember people walking in with the shoes from the fields. and I'm just here like, oh, buy my designer things, you know. So it was a mismatch. Yeah.
It's quite crazy that you lived in such a small village in Denmark, actually.
Yeah.
Going from Lithuania, going into an even bigger part, like bigger village
Yeah.
than the city.
Yeah.
Impressive.
It was fun.
But then you moved to Copenhagen,
Yeah.
so it's fine. Well, I like where it's all going. You mentioned co-founders, right? So, what from your experience, you had multiple co-founders, different experiences with them, different exits of a co-founder. So, what you should consider when looking for a co-founder? What are your learnings? What's important?
I always say now, like, take your potential co-founder and go into like an exit room or where you have like this time ticking. It's under the pressure, you know, you have to perform, like do something, go to play some sport games, competition games, and see like how you are. Because I feel like even if, you know, the most successful people can come in and tell you like how great they are and like how amazing you would be as a team and how they love the project and the idea, still you're never 100% sure. So I think like choosing a co-founder is one of the hardest things that a founder has to do. So you better make sure that's like the right, even if you make sure, like, you can never know because things happen and life changes and people suddenly don't want to do it after 2 years or something like that. But at least for those 2 years, you know, you at least tried everything to choose the right partner.
And would you say if someone says, I want to build it all by myself?
You can also do it. It depends what you want to build and how far you want to go, I think. Like, for an agency like Linkadist of being 10 people, 10 to 12, like depends on the time. It's okay to have like me as a sole CEO and founder and, you know, just to kind of, everything is already in place, the processes are made. It's fine. I think if I would have to grow, I would need more like partners and people who would be like on the same level as me. But if you just want to have like a couple of people, you can do it alone. Yeah.
And then one more interesting thing, industries. You've been covering so many different industries along the way.
Yeah.
How long does it take to actually start getting the expertise within a new field? Obviously, the older we get, the more knowledge we accumulate. So we kind of it's a compound interest. But let's say and maybe it depends on the industry, but like, how long did it take you to feel confident in the AI field?
I think I've dedicated a lot of weekends for that and a lot of talks, like just spending time talking about AI with my co-founder and learning from him and like just really embracing myself and like putting myself in this industry, like trying to understand, oh, what are GPUs used for? Okay. And what are these used for? Okay, great. And like collecting all that knowledge. So it's, I don't know how much it takes, but after a couple of months, if you really put yourself into that industry, you're definitely on a different page. And then, like for me, I will never code or I will never program. So what I need to know about is like basic understanding, maybe where the industry is going. And then I have a co-founder who can always brief me on the latest news. So I just need to know that, you know.
What do you say when two people with similar skill set tries to build a startup? Possible or risky? I know that investors don't look in that really good way.
Yeah.
We always talk about this complementary skills because at some point it will clash.
It's possible. If the question is if it's possible or not, I think it's possible. At some point, anyway, you might need like a third or a fourth co-founder, or at least you need to start hiring founding team members who have different skill sets because you don't see it anymore. So recently I coached like 3 co-founders who are all programmers and they're building an amazing platform. But I do see that they lack like marketing skills or sales, or, you know, they don't come up with any of these tactics. So it's just a bit of a longer and harder journey because you gotta rely on your own skills, which are the same, and it will take you longer.
Okay, well, very, very well answered, actually. I really like
democratic answer.
Democratic answer, basically. Really learn great negotiation skills, I guess, changing the industries and adapting. That's cool. I have a very simple question for you. Or maybe not that simple. What brings you joy?
I guess I mentioned this already, but it's freedom. It's freedom to choose what I want to do. I think that's why I kind of left my previous job like 5 years ago when I wanted to start Linkadist. It was, I wanted to do new ideas. I wanted to try something, and I was always like closed down, and like all the ideas were kind of rejected and everything. And I felt like, oh, I miss this freedom in my life. So I think like freedom gives me joy. Being able to exercise, being able to be with my close ones, and just enjoy the music, which I like to listen to a lot. So that gives me joy. Yeah.
Nice. That's beautiful. I was also in what you're saying right now, and I was like, also when you're thinking and building big dreams, I would add one thing would be the support network, the people who are also dreaming big and not looking just, well, this is not going to work immediately and judging and killing it. But then, okay, try it. You will know it only if you try it.
Yeah.
And there are different ways of trying, and there are different ways we can take risk. We can go all in high risk. We can take in with moderate risk. You don't have to quit it all.
Yeah.
Go to live search trip, but maybe I think everyone should go at the end of the day just to relax a bit from the tension you get from this world. But yeah,
it's important, as I mentioned, like I lost some friendships, but I'm not totally sad about it, because you just need to see who are the people around you who can actually support you going through this journey as well. So
great.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So I always have this small tradition here to leave with this some kind of food for thought for the day for someone who is trying to live their best authentic life and to create something that kind of complements it as well. So what would be your thought nugget to share so people can ponder through the week and maybe take some action? I don't know.
I would say maybe one thing. Sooner you're honest with yourself, the quicker you can start living the life you want, and the quicker you can start seeing the changes that can impact you in a very positive way. So honesty with yourself is where I would suggest to start.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kotryna. I don't know. I hope you come back next time. We go more practically into how is it going with AQ22, 2022.
Yeah,
I was like
okay,
22. Oh my goodness. And how is the conquering the years happening? It's going to be very interesting. Different experience, I guess, once you break through.
I can tell you definitely more about it because the trip is being planned right now.
Already planned?
Yeah.
Can we talk now about that?
Yeah, it will be at the end of October, in the middle of October.
Yes.
And for 6 weeks, I'll be in San Francisco, and then I'll be back. So I can tell you more about how things
so we can follow up then. Okay, so now all the best with all your planning there. And it would be very interesting to come back and reflect. So how to, I guess we could make the episode about the go-to-market or how to break through in the market that everybody wants to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. High five. Thank you. So that was Kotryna. Wonderful entrepreneur. Follow her journey. All the context will be in the episode. And yeah, I hope you got inspired as much as I did to just stop waiting and start doing and keep learning, I guess. These would be those three. And stay true and honest to yourself.
Yeah.
And to your heart, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's
what
important.
Do you really want? Not what someone else wants, but what do you really want? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Zivile, for having me.
It was Kotryna, Perception Paradox at Plug and Play Office.